Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another live stream, a midday live. It must be Thursday. We're joined by Chris. Chris, it's been a quiet week, hasn't it?
I really don't know what we're going to talk about, to be honest with you. I don't know. Did we appoint somebody, or we're looking to appoint somebody, or I
Did
don't
someone get
know.
sacked?
No, 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 no. You dreamt that. That was a dream.
No, what a week, mate. Like, joking aside, what a week of it is. We've been on. I think our tune had been very similar in terms of Steve Cooper. We wanted him to do well. We wanted to give him a chance, but we both got to a point where it's like this isn't working.
Mm.
And we were both also saying the same thing of please don't let this drag out. Please just pull the plug now. And it's like credit where's credit's due. I think Top has really been like this is the ruthless side of King Power that we haven't seen for a while. Seen it with Top this week.
It's difficult with an owner because you want to be loved by fans, and obviously, King Power are, but there were Uh, I did a show with Locks and Craig. Should Top sell up and get out? And it was that sort of sayings that we hadn't really heard ever, in the past about King Power. Was it starting to turn? But look, they're loved if they get it right. They're hated if they get it wrong. It's all part of being a football club owner. What I like was the fact that he seems to have learnt from his lessons. He left it too long with Rodgers, and look what happened. He hasn't
Yeah.
left it long this time. I honestly think that during the 2 weeks, I thought that's when it would happen. But maybe he was talking to Ruud during those 2 weeks because it's all happened very quickly, hasn't it? But the thing I'm most happy about is when you look at the table, all right, Wolves probably will stick by Gary O'Neill now. Ipswich are never going to get rid of McKenna, even if they go down. The Southampton, Palace, Everton, West Ham, they're all looking at the possibility of changing the managers, I think. And every single one of those would have looked at Rude as well. So we needed to get in quick so we didn't get into the Dean Smith sort of situation.
Yeah, I 100% hear that. We say about the timing of the sacking. The
Mm.
reports are it was because of not just the Chelsea game's performance, but then the reaction after the Chelsea game. And apparently, there's arguments in the dressing room and players not happy. So
See,
I don't know if it was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak.
very, very likely. I don't think, because of course there was rumours that Top went into the dressing room after the match. I don't think that would have happened because Cooper would have been there. But we know, and I think you've said as well in the past, Vardy and one or two others are still very close to the chairman. And look, if Vardy has gone, and everybody's saying, oh, player power and all this, but if Vardy has gone to the chairman and said, look, you need to look at this, things aren't right, he's captain. That's his job. And I think when you looked at that performance against Southampton. Sorry, against Chelsea. One shot on target in 90 minutes. Their goalkeeper Sanchez, who we know can be dodgy, did not have one save to make. I'm sure at some point I saw him sat on a deck chair in his goal with a sandwich. I mean, he won't have an easier game.
Thing is, you say one shot on target. It was a penalty in the 95th minute as well.
Well, exactly. Exactly that. I was just trying to not make it sound really as bad as it was. But yeah, if you're watching that game, and there's two schools of thoughts. Did we fight our way back into it, or did Chelsea never get out of second gear? I'm sort of for the latter, really. And let's be honest with you, had Chelsea, but for the sake of VAR and the fact that they didn't have the shooting boots on, again, could have been out of sight.
Yeah, and I don't expect to see us going toe to toe with Chelsea, but what I do
No,
expect to see, and I don't care who we're playing, is a bit of fight and a bit of something about us.
and you know
Chelsea
what?
had that.
I was going to say that's what Ipswich fans got against Tottenham. That's what Wolves fans got against Fulham. That's what we used to have in the Great Escape year with Nigel Pearson. I haven't
Yeah,
seen hardly any fight this year, and our two wins have been bloody lucky. Let's be honest with you.
The thing is, I've seen a certain level of fight because you don't keep coming back from behind in the way that we did for a period. But it's just, I feel like there's only so long you can ride your luck, and I feel like as much as
Yeah.
like they're fighting to the end, I also thought they were riding their luck massively, and I think the players were fully aware of that as well.
Yes, agreed. But look, let's just enjoy, the moment that whatever happened in the past was the past. A decision has been made early. Yes, a third of the season has gone. In just think in a month's time, Christmas will be but a memory. That's how far into the season we are. But it's early enough. Ruud, if Ruud can come in. He's got a month to assess what he's got. So he's not just coming in January and going like, oh shit, right, who do I buy? Who do we need? He's got a month to assess what he's got. Are they good enough? Are they bad enough before we get to January? Leisurely's been given a war chest. I don't know about that. But, it's rude, it's early. And let's be honest with you, it wasn't a bad interview he had, was it? Beating us twice in 2 weeks.
To be fair, I talked to a United fan and I said, sort of tongue in cheek, like he was saying about how fantastic he did as an interim, and it's like, yeah, but you only played Steve Cooper's Leicester twice. It's hardly that impressive. But no, joking aside, and we'll get on to Ruud in just a minute. I don't really look at that time in terms of United. I'm more interested in what he did at PSV, where he was there for an entire season. But going to quickly jump into the live chat, guys. Do leave a like on the stream. There's also a poll. Vote on the poll. Are you happy with Ruud van Nistelrooy? How late we expecting to be? I said to Chris before we went live, I need to go live now, so I'm on time for Rich. We can't talk. I'm going 3 minutes plus. Was I 1 minute late? I'm not having that. I think I was bang on the money.
I think you were on time, man. Definitely, yeah, definitely.
I hope you're well, though, Richie. Andreas, welcome in. I hope you're well. Afternoon, David. Another British manager. To be honest, I think his passport is absolutely irrelevant to the fact he's been sacked. I think the fact that players weren't buying into what he's doing, the fact that they've just completely looked lost, and I don't buy that for a second that it's anything to do with his passport. And actually, whilst we're on the topic of that, I think that's half the reason he's got so much sort of sympathy throughout the press is the fact that he's someone who's been through the England FA. I know he's Welsh, but he's been through the English FA. He's come through as a Liverpool youth coach. I feel like that's probably given him more time, and he's meant he's got the reception that he has got in the press compared to if he was a foreign manager, where we've seen that when a manager doesn't fit, they will get ridiculed. But Scott, how are you doing? I hope you are well. Hope we haven't jumped the gun with Ruud. I hope so. Have the club announced it, confirmed Ruud yet? Not yet. But it's when you've got Fabrizio Romano saying, here we go, and all of this, that, and the other. It's as close to being done as it.
I was a little bit worried with Fabrizio because he did go with a manager before, or a player before, that then absolutely fell through. Having said that, it started to see like one or two rumours sneaking out, and then, like say, it was John Percy at the Telegraph, I think, that broke it first. Fabrizio retweeted it, and then Sky got onto it. The BBC had got onto it. Once you know those big boys are getting onto it, there's no smoke without fire, as they say.
Yeah, I also think for me, Fabrizio is as good as done. But then when you see Percy, you see, I think all of those lot talking about it. But one little thing that I saw last night was, I don't know if you saw it, David Moyes arriving at East Midlands Airport, and it's like, what's going on here? But
that could be any airport anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I know, but it makes a good story, doesn't it?
Oh, it did. I love the fact, and I don't know if this was true. I think one of the comments on one of the, because obviously it was retweeted, reposted, whatever, but one of the comments said, I work at East Midlands Airport and I've never seen that picture before. It's just, but look, it's great. I tell you what I like about this. Do you remember when we appointed Enzo?
Yeah.
There was a complete, we were all sort of literally like, we'd got relegated. Dean Smith had been and gone. We'd slept walk into that. The club was probably at a really, really low ebb. And Enzo's announcement, which was totally unexpected, was such a buzz. We didn't sort of necessarily worry too much about his lack of managerial experience. But as I've just written for the BBC, he'd got that pep dust sprinkled all over him, and we all got excited. And that, I think, is back with Ruud. We never had that with Steve Cooper. It was like, all right, then, come on, let's give him a go. And I think that buzz is back with this appointment. And that's what we need.
I was talking to Daz, Daz that I have on my channel a lot. And I said Saturday is probably the first time I'm looking forward to going to a game for a month or so.
I mean, don't get me wrong, we're not suddenly going to finish, 8th or 9th, but it gives me I'm more optimistic about us finishing 17th than we would have been before. And I think with what Spencer's just said there, I love the thumbnail, by the way, Spence. I think I read somewhere this morning that he could be bringing some ex-Man United or Man United, staff with him.
Be interesting to see, won't it, for sure. I saw reports as well that he might bring, and I can't remember his name, but some of the lads that he worked with at PSV. But it's one of those, there's going to be 101 names. We'll have to just wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
I think it's a case of owners having a fantasy of going to play pep football. The thing is, I hear what you're saying with that, but if we're going to go for someone like Steve Cooper, then you've got to be defensively solid. We weren't defensively solid. We were absolutely every time anyone attacked us, we looked vulnerable as anything, like a hot knife through butter. And we were blunt as anything going forward. It's like, if we're going to go for a defensive manager, I'm all for it. But then you need to get a defensive manager who sets us up well defensively. He was doing neither.
Exactly. However you set your team up, whatever formation, if you are shit defensively, you're not going to do anything.
Yeah. The football has been atrocious. 2 wins were flukes. I wanted Cooper to work, but it was taking us down. I agree with that. And I think we all wanted it to work, but I think I've never been so quick to think for a manager, this just isn't it. Like, normally, I give a manager quite a lot of time before I make an opinion. For me, I could tell very quickly it wasn't it. And it's like, I know a lot more people were Cooper out before I was, but I had a period, around that Ipswich, Bournemouth, Forest game. It's like, I want to give him 10 games to see where he's at. Like, if you're fully behind the manager at that point, you say, give him time. You can see it as an idea. I was on the fence from very early on, and I just didn't. When you're like, is it too soon to start calling for him to go?
With Cooper, I tell you what, you do get a liking for humble pie if you eat enough of it. Whilst he necessarily wasn't my first choice, he was one of the 3 I wanted. So, I wanted him to succeed. The worry is that we needed to finish at least 17th, and it's so important because the EFL are waiting for us. So like I've said many times, like the child catcher out of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, they're waiting there with that net, to catch us. So it's so important. If we go down this season, I think it could be another 10 seasons before we come back up again. And I'm not, like I said, I just feel I said this time I wanted Ruud van Nistelrooy, unlike some of my co-hosts on this show, not mentioning any names. I'm sure you can work out who that is, who actually went for Mr. Potter again. The interesting thing is, and I took yours and Jack from Final Whistles, I took your votes, and then everybody that presents on mine, and there was 10 of us. One person chose Mourinho, the others, Potter, Ruud van Nistelrooy and Moyes, all had 3 votes each. So we couldn't decide ourselves.
Well, as I said to you before we went live, I was really excited about Ruud until you reminded me that it was who you wanted. And that's exactly where we were in the summer, wasn't it?
I've got no defence. I have absolutely no defence on that one.
Stacey David will still go down. Well, Paul Merson also said sacking Cooper was a harsh decision and a wrong decision. So I don't think a lot of the mainstream don't watch Leicester. Just look at the scores and think, oh, they'll be all right.
Look at what I put a thing up the other day about Jamie Carragher. This is why this man is a dick, because he's saying that Cooper was doing well at Leicester. I mean, come on.
Do you mean the same Jamie Carragher who was at Liverpool the same time Steve Cooper was?
That's the one, I believe. That's the one and the same. Yes.
This is why I say that I think that British managers could, same as Brendan Rodgers, because he was come through Liverpool and was so well connected. No one called him out for ages on how poor we were. And then when we didn't sack him, you see all of them going, "Oh well, he stayed far too long." And it's like, well, you were saying he would get us out of it, and it's like, so take everything the mainstream say with a complete pinch of salt, because they probably watched Leicester about once this season, and it'll only be when their teams played them.
That's it. And let's be honest with you, Jamie, they all talk a load of BS anyway. So you say totally and utterly ignore them. Really, yes.
Static, how are you doing, my friend? Ruud's a great choice for Leicester. I think so. I'm excited, at least. Look at the comment time. Actually, I think Rich is right by saying that. We'll move on quickly.
Callum, but are you doing GMT or are you doing AMT, which is Ants Meridian time? Because Ants Meridian time is just a minute out. So just check that.
I feel that Ruud van Nistelrooy will be a good appointment. I fear he doesn't have enough time to make the huge impact this season. I think he's going to get given, he'll get given to the end of the season now, regardless of what happens. I think he needs to be backed in January. I think we need to be patient with him. But I also think, unlike Steve Cooper, he needs to give something for us to buy into.
Yes. But do you not think that we've automatically bought into him more than we've bought into Steve Cooper because of who he is?
Nearly had a fit. My friend messaged says, don't worry. Guys, I can't read all of the comments because the chat is absolutely flying, but I can see Anthony's in. I can see Appius himself now. Yeah, lots of comments. I appreciate all of them. I'm quickly going to enter the poll, and then we're going to talk about top for a minute. And obviously, all of the ongoings in Copenhagen. And I know some people are going to be looking at me like, what am I on about? But you'll understand very, very quickly. We talked about it yesterday on stream with Neil, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it as well, Chris. Whilst I'm getting the poll up, guys, do get the likes up. So we've got 94% saying yes, they're happy with Ruud, and 6% saying no. And I bet you that 6% are probably the Forest fans that think that we should have kept Cooper even if he was going to take us down. But what I wanted to bring up, mate, was this. So this is from John Percy. So Top criticises players in training ground meeting over poor performance, which led to Steve Cooper's sacking and Copenhagen party video. Unfortunate timing, but perhaps. But Top felt that the video smeared the club's family image. What did you make of it, mate?
Oh, honestly, I give up sometimes. Look, we've all worked for companies, and I've worked for companies where we've had a really awful year, sales-wise. The figures haven't been good. And do you know what I mean? Still to be able to go out at the end of the season and go, or at the end of the year, and have a bit of a party, and the bosses maybe buy you a few drinks. Would this be as controversial if somebody hadn't held up a sign saying, I love you, Enzo, or whatever it said, which apparently, according to Rob Tanner, wasn't even one of the Leicester players. It was just somebody being naughty that was watching them. We know they've been to Copenhagen before. We know they've got dressed up before. You said before we came in, which was a very good point, which surprised me, but it was a very good point from you, Ant, that they can't have a party in December because of so many games. So, God, if these players can't have a bit of a, let their hair down and enjoy themselves, what's it coming to? What's it coming to? Get out there.
I don't think that was what the issue was or what people have made a story out of. I think it's the Enzo sign and the timing of it with Steve Cooper being sacked. I think that's what the issue is. Not like go away and have your Christmas party.
I bet you anything that party was booked before Top decided he wanted to sack Enzo. So whose bad timing was it? If
No, it's not.
if
It's
not
not the
Enzo,
timing.
sorry, Cooper. Sorry, Cooper.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The timing of the party, absolutely. Who cares? Everyone who work, most of us who work will probably have a Christmas party with like your work colleagues, but it's the timing of that sign getting put up, and with just everything that's happened. That's probably why Top is not happy, and regardless of if it was a player or not, it's not a good look.
It's not, but look, we know, if you go out tomorrow night and you're having a party, it's your Christmas party, and somebody takes a picture of you, and somebody behind you is holding a sign up, then what control have you got? Look at David Coote. Somebody else videoed that and they put it up. I'm sure that whoever took that picture, whoever held the sign, maybe got a little bit of a financial inducement from the Mirror, the Sun, the Star, whoever it was that leaked it. I'm just like, Top, get over yourself on this one, because if you'd have acted sooner, and you had 2 weeks to sack him in the international break before the party, then maybe somebody should have advised Top. Just remember the players are going out for the party this weekend.
The thing is, I hear that, but I actually like the fact Top's finally putting his foot down, because it's regardless if you agree or disagree with the sign. For me, it's like it doesn't sit well with me. It does not look good on Top at all, because everything that happens with Leicester City comes up. Like in any company, the book always stops with the boss and who's at the top.
Yeah,
I think that's the same with Leicester. And this was a conversation a point Neil made yesterday, that Thai culture is very much about respect and this and the other. Even if it wasn't one of the players, it's a little bit disrespectful. But what I do think is, like with the media, as they always do, like the newspapers, they've made a mountain out of what is a molehill.
it is. I still think, look, you cannot control, if you're in a pub, unless you're going to go and book a venue totally for yourself, you're not going to, and then even then you might get some, kit man or something that holds it up. I just think it is a mountain out of a molehill. Look, if you'd said to the lads, don't go away for your Christmas party, what effect would that have had on team morale?
Now, again, it's like I say, I don't think the team party is the issue. I think it's the videos that have gone round. But it's one of those. It's not the biggest thing in the world, but I get why he's not happy, because it's just with Steve Cooper being sacked, and I think, as John Percy says, it's the timing of it. But
yeah, but like I say, what are you going to do? You say, hey lads, by the way, I'm just about to go and sack our manager. Cancel your Christmas party.
Or maybe just don't put a sign out saying we miss your ex-manager.
No, but if that, what I'm saying is, and who knows, that might have been, Wout Faes, holding it up, or, Steve, it might have been Chilwell having a bit of a thing that turned up and held it up. We don't know who held it up. You cannot be held responsible for what other people are going to do.
No, I hear that.
And they didn't put that out. That would have come from whoever put the sign up and thought they'd get a little bit of money off one of the tabloids. That's my thought on it. Sorry?
Where's Rebecca been lately?
Very true. Very true.
But yeah, I think this is why I love these shows, because it's like, you see so many of these these shows on YouTube where you can't have a disagreement and like everything ends up in an argument. This is why I love this one, because we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things with Leicester, which I think is fantastic, really. Because if we all did, it would be boring.
No, it's this. You have to have disagreements. Look, football's all about opinions. Mine's usually right, yours is usually wrong. That's a joke, by the way, before anybody accuses me of being big-headed. Look, no, it's all about opinions, and you should be able to discuss opinions and not fall out over it. You could be very right. Nothing to say, that I'm correct. You could be very right. And the thing at the end of the day is, we all love our football club, and that's what it's about. Let's not forget that at the end of the day.
That's it. But whilst we're on the topic of Top, there's talk that he's going to take more of a lead in January in terms of the transfer windows. Like, he's been very hands off for a while and letting Rudkin and Whelan and other members of the board be in charge. It feels like now he's really taking the ball by the horns.
I'm not. I mean, I've seen sort of reports that King Power's shares have been transferred to him or whatever. Look, he's not here often. If he wants to take control of the club, then he's got to literally debunk and live in Leicester and be at that training ground day in, day out. I don't think he's stupid enough to know that he can go in and have more hands-on say. John Rudkin, like it or loathe it, is his director of football. Top will still always make the decisions because he always has in the past. It is, if it's football related, regarding the club, and players, etc., it will go through Martin Glover, the manager. Then they will go to Rudkin, and Rudkin will go to Top, and Top will have the final say. If it's financial side of it, it'll probably be like Neville and Whelan, but they will go to Top. Top will always make the decision, always has made the decision. And, you either change Whelan and Rudkin and Neville and Glover and all of those, or you sort of do seem to put your foot down and say, right, no decisions now being made until you've got it from me in triplicate. That's probably more of what he's doing, but I'd be more worried if he was taking a more hands-on approach because, let's be honest with you, he's never been in football. He's not a football person. Yes, he owns the club. Yes, he will make the final decisions. Quite rightly, it's his money, it's his club, and he will do what's best for Leicester. I've absolutely no doubt in that. But I don't think he'll be taking over any of the day-to-day runnings of it.
No, I agree with that. I don't think it'll be day-to-day, but it's like it feels like he's more actively active. And as you say, big decisions have been his, but he's being a lot quicker to make them, and he's been, obviously, with the reports of the players getting a bollocking after the Copenhagen stuff. It's interesting, and this is a point that I made on another show yesterday. I don't know if you will agree with this. I think he's taking the threat of relegation a lot more seriously this time, because there was that feeling last time of, we'll be fine, this, that, and the other. This time, it feels like getting rid of Cooper as early as he has, feels like he's taken that threat a lot more seriously.
And so he should. I mean, at the start of that season, although we were all saying about Rodgers out and then we had the World Cup thrown in and etc., but none of us probably thought until post-World Cup that we were in any real sort of trouble of going down. We just had sort of, we'd finished 8th the season before. Before that, it had been two seasons of 5th. Whose mind was it in that, oh, yeah, this is the season we're going to get relegated? Now, of course, it's happened. And, of course, like I said earlier, you've also got, the EFL waiting for us if we do go down with business plans and embargoes, etc. This has to be taken seriously. And maybe he's looked at it and thought, hang on, I do need to maybe take a little bit more control. And maybe he's getting a little bit more ruthless like his dad was. And that is not a bad thing. Obviously, we don't want to turn into a Watford and be sacking managers every other week. But, he's doing what he feels is best for the club. And that, he felt, was sacking Cooper and getting Ruud in.
It's interesting because I know there's always reports after a manager's been sacked that tries to make the club look better. But I've seen a couple and saying they didn't think he was the right man to start with. This is where I really struggle with it. It's like, if you thought that in the summer, why give him the job in the first place? Why give him the job on a 3-year contract as well?
Yeah, that I don't. I mean, 3-year contracts apparently and I brought this point up and said no manager's going to go on anything less than a 3-year contract. Yes, they will, because we've seen the likes of Allardyce going to Sunderland, Moyes going to West Ham, all on short-term contracts, and then hoping to earn thing. But maybe to get Ruud, we'll probably have to give him a 3-year, and I understand that. And you've also got to think as well, if we are giving people 3-year contracts, that's because we want the project to be in place, because we don't want to be bringing a new manager in, because every time a new manager comes in, it's different tactics, different ideas, and you're starting from scratch. I read the bit about that he wasn't convinced. But again, you've got to think and I look at the way that what I said at the start is, we don't know who turned us down, apart from Potter, because he always turns us down. Do you know what I mean? There may have been other managers that we'd gone for that have said no, so we may have only been left with Steve Cooper and another, or something like, or even possibly even Steve Cooper only. I know Burnley were after Steve Cooper, and they told him where to go because he hadn't made a decision for them. And he went on advice. Now, I don't think he would have been totally against Cooper, otherwise he just wouldn't have come in. But look, he went on the advice he was given, and hindsight's a bloody marvellous thing, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's, if we all knew what was going to happen, we'd all be millionaires. But I think this feels more like a top appointment, to be honest with you, than Cooper did, though.
It feels. I don't know. The Cooper one, I don't know who. Like, I can't work out who it was an appointment of, but I would argue, particularly in recent years, it's the worst appointment under King Power. But with Ruud, it's a huge risk. But there feels like there's something to get behind. There's an idea. There's like, as you mentioned earlier, like with Enzo Maresca, there's just that excitement back. And I think a huge bit that we were sold on with Steve Cooper when we were scraping the barrels for positives is the fact that he improves young players. And I know he only got 12 games. We didn't see any of that.
No, not at all. I mean, what Alvis. I make the joke that if Wayne Rooney was still at Leicester, he wouldn't have broken through yet. Just because I don't know what we've got these exciting youngsters. We've got this huge training complex which is supposed to bring these youngsters through, and yet where are they all? They're all out at loan on other clubs. Now, had Cooper stayed, it would have been interesting because he had gone down the I want experienced players route. Ipswich had gone down that we're going to take a chance on the likes of Schmodic and what have you from the Championship and the younger player route. It would have been interesting to see out the two of us who finished the better, but obviously with Cooper going, that won't happen now. I just think I look at Ruud and I think, he didn't do bad at PSV. And everybody says, well, you know what? All those leagues in Europe, that they're only as good as the Championship. Well, where did Martin O'Neill come from? Then he said Gary O'Neill. Then where did Martin O'Neill come from? It was the lower leagues. What impressed me and you could argue that it was only Leicester. I think he won one in Europe as well, though, didn't he? What he did with that Man United team in the short space of time he had, and let's be honest with you, had Eric Ten Hag still been in charge at Man United when they played us, I would have hoped that we might have even got a point, or might have even have beaten them. And we would always say, like, oh God, they sacked him before they played us. That's not good, is it? So what he did in changing that team round in such a short space of time, that's what excites me.
Yeah, I hear it saying, but one thing that I do worry about, and it's like, it is a risk. I think we're both realistic to that. But whoever you bring in is a risk.
I'm going to say, tell me who won't be a risk.
But you remember when Gerrard was absolutely smashing it at Rangers? He went unbeaten for a whole season and then came to the Premier League. I just have that slight fear of that happening. But the thing is, it could go that way, but he could also go on to be the next fantastic big thing.
Again, to quote you, I hear what you're saying. Totally. But we're not going to know. Like I said earlier, hindsight's a wonderful thing. And none of us know how it's going to work out. all you've got to say is whenever you take a new manager on, will he be an improvement on the one that you've just got rid of? As in West Ham with Moyes. Moyes had to go, the West Hams were saying, but Lopetegui wasn't any better than what they'd had with Moyes. Is Van Nistelrooy better than what we've had with Cooper? I've got to say, find me somebody that's going to say no to that.
I'll struggle to find someone who's not going to be, to be honest.
Yeah,
but I don't think in 2024's with Zoom, etc., Top has to move to Leicester. He can be more involved from a distance if he wants. Fair point. Very fair point.
Fair point, actually, yeah.
Eddie, how are you, mate? Is he ready for Brentford away? Apparently he's going to be in charge at Brentford, but it hasn't officially been announced yet. So we're still waiting for the official announcement. I've seen some bits that it's going to be at 9 o'clock tonight because of, the for the announcement, but it needs to be done before tomorrow, doesn't it?
No, that's not. That clashing with I'm a celebrity. I'm sorry, you can't do that at 9 o'clock tonight. I've got all my 5 votes going to Colleen Rooney doing the next Bush Tucker trials. That's typical bloody Leicester, isn't it?
To be fair, it's just Twitter rumours, isn't it? And I bet you there's been a Twitter rumour saying for every half an hour, it's going to be a 9, it's going to be 9:30, it's going to be 10, it's going to be 10:30, and so on and so on.
I mean, the rumour that I've read is that he will be in situ, but he won't be taking the team.
Like Brendan Rodgers was when he first came in for that Fulham game.
Yeah. But then he'll be there for West Ham the next week.
That would make sense, actually. But again, it's just we're going to have to wait and see. But the closer it gets to Brentford, the more likely it looks that he won't be.
I mean, what we're on today now, it's Thursday, isn't it? Coming in on Thursday, possibly. No, I can't see him. He might be in the stands. Is West Ham home or away?
Home.
If you're going to announce a new manager and present them to the crowd, it's going to be a home game, isn't it?
Well, in an ideal world, but really you just want him out as quickly as possible and working with the teams. But would it shock you, though, and I don't know this at all, this is just tinfoil hat time, would it shock you if he's been training, like coaching the team today and training with the team today, but the club just haven't announced it yet?
I would be shocked in as much as that would have leaked out somewhere. They would have done a picture of him landing at East Midlands Airport. Do you know what I mean? There's no way
with David Moyes.
With David, exactly, as his new assistant. But no, somebody somewhere would have taken a picture and sold that to the tabloids, wouldn't they? I think they've been they are in talks with him. I think, for me, that I think he'll be in place, but I think he will be watching from the stands, which won't be a bad thing. Give him a chance to just sort of see us in, because you can watch players until the sun goes down in training. You don't know what they're like until they kick off in a proper match. So he can sit there and assess it. Maybe a bit too early for him to get involved in knowing the players, and then he'll have a day or so. Because he'll have Sunday and Monday. We're playing Tuesday, aren't we? Sunday and Monday to sort of maybe try and put one or two of his ideas and be announced and be in the dugout on Tuesday night against West Ham.
Yeah. I think even if he's not on the touchline, but even if he's in the stand, you're going to see a bit of a reaction and a bounce from those players. Because I think,
of course you are.
Obviously, we disagreed about earlier, though, obviously with the Copenhagen party, but we've seen the news that Top hasn't taken it well. And that he's given them a bollocking. Those players allegedly are the reason that Steve Cooper got sacked, because they went up to Top. Top's got rid of Steve Cooper and brought in a new manager. Now it's on these players. They've kicked up a fuss. They now need to perform.
Yes, very, very similar to when Claudio went, really, wasn't it? And look what happened when, Craig Shakespeare took over. They did stand up and went. And look, I have got absolutely nothing wrong. I don't mind players. Look, in any job, and I've been a team leader and I've been a manager of a sales team. And if that team aren't happy with me and they go and say to me, Chris, you're being a bell end and you should be doing this, you should be doing that, I could easily turn around and say, yeah, okay, whatever, and just carry on doing the same. They have every right to go over me to the next level of management and say, we're not getting on with Chris. He's doing this, he's not doing that. And then I get called in. So totally understand that from the players. And Jamie Vardy's the captain as well. So, he has every right to do that and express his worries. But, when we watch some of those games, I've looked at some of the players that have been on that pitch, and they don't look like they've got a clue what they're supposed to be doing. I'm sure Ndidi needs, he probably goes into the dressing room before the game, pulls a cracker, and says, "Oh, I'm playing midfield today, or I'm playing right wing, or I'm playing in goal today." It seemed like nobody seemed to know what they were doing, and you've got a striker like Jamie Vardy. Yes, he's nearly 38, and yes, he's getting on a bit, but he's still our main striker up front, and he gets 4 touches in 45 minutes. That's not his fault. That's the fact that we're not getting the ball to him, and that's the sort of thing that Ruud needs to get in and sort out.
Thing is, I don't think the amount of touches is actually an issue, because you would think when he was at his best, he wasn't always heavily involved. But I think it's where the touches were. They were nowhere near the opposition goal.
But he's not heavily involved at all now, is he?
No, but at times he never was anyway, and then he would just pop up with a goal out of nowhere. But it's like you've got to get the ball into him those situations.
I see where you're coming from, but he's got to have the service. If our strikers, and if you take it out as being Vardy and stick Ewu in, and if you're really, really desperate, stick Ruud or Edouard in. If they're not getting the service, they ain't going to score.
Yeah, that's it. And it's like you say about his touches. I don't know if you've seen the heat map. Most of them, well, I think one of them was in the box.
Mm.
And the rest were nowhere near. Oh, it's like, what can he do?
Has to come back. Yeah, when your striker has to come back and get the ball, he can't be doing his role. It's like putting Harry Kane on corners. I mean, who would do that? But you know what I'm saying? You've got to. Yeah, there's a lot for Ruud to fix, but I do believe that he can do that.
Yeah, I'll say something though. I'll tell you. You know that a lot of the coaches have gone. I'm very happy that the set piece coaches stayed.
We have looked better at set pieces this year. There's one or two that have gone astray, but there's things we've tried that we haven't tried before, and we're not conceding. I mean, look, let's be honest with you. Last few seasons, well, pre Enzo, we got a corner. It was as good as a goal. So yeah, I think it's just two coaches that have gone, hasn't it? Because Ben Nelson who's in charge? He was one of Cooper's as well. So there's a couple of coaches have gone, but yeah, I'm sure though Ruud will bring in, the contacts he's got. Do you know what I mean? He can. It'd be interesting to see who he does bring in, but he could be bringing in some good names.
See if we can get some young players from United as well.
Well, let's be honest with you. We said that about Enzo and Man City, didn't we? He knows the ones that could be good. So we'll wait and see.
What about not quite a young player at United, but we've talked about in January probably needing a centre back, Harry Maguire. Would you have Harry Maguire back?
In an instant. Every day of the week and twice on a Sunday. When he left, he didn't leave with any bad feeling. We know, all that he did. He signed a new contract, so he got some money. I would have him back in a heartbeat. Definitely. I wouldn't have Johnny Evans back.
No.
I would certainly. I mean, wouldn't you have Maguire back?
Oh, in a heartbeat, mate. Absolutely in a heartbeat. I think he'd be fantastic for us. With Johnny Evans, he'd probably get injured on the way back down to Leicester because he seemed to be
injured. Pretend to be injured.
Yeah, that last season really left a sour note with Johnny Evans for me because he was fantastic whilst he was here, but every time it was time to play for Leicester, he was injured, and then magically international duty, and he was fit and available again.
But then again, we don't know what was going on behind the scenes, do we?
I hope the manager works out well for you guys. Me too, Liz. Me too. I hope you are well, Liz. Allegedly, Moyes is coming in as Ruud's number 2.
Scott, stop stir. Put your big spoon away now.
We will naturally play better on Saturday, as Bonanotte presumably will play, as he is key to our attacking play. I think there's something in that, but I also think that we couldn't have played much worse against Chelsea if we tried. So anything's got to be an improvement.
No.
Like that first 30 minutes genuinely felt like a League One side in the FA Cup, just trying to hold on for as long as they physically could.
Yeah. Let me very quickly, just on that Chelsea game, because you went to it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Presumably being a home game. I watched it. My feeling was, and I have a huge disagreement with Brad here, that when we came back into it, that was more of Chelsea dropping a gear, taking the foot off the gas, than us actually being that good that we got back into the game. Which of the two do you see it?
I think it's more of a second, but I also don't think we massively got back into the game because we had 1 shot on target, 4 shots all game. And it's like, if our best defender on the day wasn't the Chelsea attacker but blocking the ball off the goal line, then
sign him up. Sign him up.
He did more defensive work for us in our phase.
What is embarrassing is that those 2 Chelsea players were laughing and joking about it because they knew they were going to win the game anyway.
Oh, but it's one of those, as I said earlier, I don't expect us to beat Chelsea, but I do expect to see a bit of a fight and us not roll over and have our tummies tickled.
Alan Nigel Pearson Great Escape year. At least put a fight. Look, Southampton, yes, they're bottom. Yes, they look odds on to go down. But Great Escape number 2, look at the fight they put up against Liverpool.
It's like Ipswich, though. Everyone, look at them against Man United. They went for it against Man United and against Tottenham. They looked Ipswich for me looked like they're getting better and better. And under Steve Cooper, we looked like we were getting better, worse and worse.
That's the problem. That was one of the reasons he had to go.
But
didn't you say a gigantic gamble or best appointment the club could make? Interesting question.
Can I come back to you in a few months?
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Let's have a bit of hindsight, and we'll let you know.
Talk to me about Saturday, Chris. Brentford. First game I felt excited for a while, and I know Brentford are fantastic at home, and like we are not so fantastic away from home. But it's just that excitement and that hope I've got back.
Yeah. Look, the last 2 games, I'm not gonna lie. When it came to the prediction league, I'm bottom. I needed the points in the prediction league, and both of those games I predicted a Leicester loss. I ain't gonna predict that we lose to Brentford. You know, they're sat in 11th. Yes, okay, you could argue they've won 5, but they've also lost 5. They've scored 22, but they've also conceded 22. So I feel like you totally. I feel that the new manager bounce, whether he's in the dugout or not, he'll be in the stadium, I'm sure. And I think that will give. I think he'll be giving the team talks possibly. Before and after and half time. Who knows? Let's say we have seen it before, where a new manager that's been sat in the stands goes down at half time and it takes over. I feel quietly confident, and I'm trying to hold back my excitement on this. And I think had Ruud come in during the 2 weeks international break, I think we'd have still lost to Chelsea, because let's be honest with you, Chelsea are, they're going to be up there this season. But we've got Brentford, we've got West Ham, not sure who after that, but those are 2 games that are both winnable. And I wouldn't feel confident in winning them if Steve Cooper was still in charge.
Yeah, my only worry about Brentford is, you say they've won 5 games, they've won all 5 of them at home this season.
It's time to change that then, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's like they're a team though. You think with Ivan Toney going that they would have struggled big time this year, but they've got so many players that have stepped up, like Mpwemu, Wissa, very capable players. But as you mentioned, their defence is not particularly great. If we can get at them and put them under pressure, there's no reason we can't get at least a point.
Oh, exactly. I mean, like this is our December game, or our games from now until Liverpool on Boxing Day. Brentford away, West Ham at home, Brighton at home, which is on a Sunday. Newcastle away. That's always going to be difficult, even sort of if we're up and flying. Wolves at home. My only worry on all of those is Newcastle. Brighton could be a worry, but Newcastle I think will be. Apart from that, Brentford, West Ham, Ipswich, Wolves. Surely we've got to be getting some victories out of those.
Yeah, I think the ones you look at straight away, just because they're at home, is Wolves and West Ham. But you can't just write off other games.
No, I'm not writing them off as such. And Ipswich we know will be a draw, so that's a foregone conclusion. I'm not writing them off. I'm just saying they will be more difficult.
Oh no, I wasn't saying you were writing them off. I'm saying that, because this is where I got frustrated. Heading into those Man United and Chelsea games, yes, we expect to lose, but if the players go into the game with the mindset of we're gonna lose, so we might as well not put up a fight, then those points that you pick up in those games, and we look at Ipswich as the example, those are the kind of points that can be the difference between staying up and going down.
Definitely. If it's between us and Ipswich, 1 point could make all the difference. Either way, of course. I don't think Ruud is the sort of player that would that would let his team do that. If I'm honest with you, and like we've always said, as fans, look, football. We know what football's like. It's a very up and down game, and we've got we could easily go into a game and lose it. But it's the manner in which we lose it. And I keep going back to the Great Escape year. I travelled 8 hours a day, and it does get longer every time I say this story, but I travelled 8 hours every match day to come up from the south coast to Leicester to watch them lose. But do you know what? Every time I saw it, I saw a team that put the effort in, that fought. And if they do that, the fans will say, okay, so we lost. But at least we put up a fight, and that's what the fans want to see, and that's what we haven't been doing.
Yeah. Terence said, I want nothing less than 3 points. Be buzzing with 3 points. I would be happy with the point as well, but I'll be honest. But if we can get all 3 points, fantastic. Genuinely feel excited with Ruud. It's an exciting kind of risk. Corberan would have been a nervous kind of risk. I'm going to be honest. Carlos Corberan was my favourite from when it went to Ruud, Moyes, or Corberan. Potter was my first choice to start with, but he ruled himself out very quickly. And I don't think we ever go back in for Potter now. He's made it very, very clear. But I'm excited.
He's been out of it too long. I don't know what he's waiting. I was listening to Talk Sport yesterday. I don't know what he's waiting for. I mean, what? Because the longer he waits and waits, he didn't get the Man United job. Big clubs are going to look at him and go, well, actually, you were pretty shit at Chelsea. So it's going to have to be one of the lower, clubs outside the top 6. Who is he waiting for? And he'll get to a point where clubs are just going to forget him.
I don't know, but did you watch his high performance podcast?
No.
Where they got him on? I'd recommend it because he said that it's not actually like. Hold on, sorry, I've got to get my phone on charge. I've realised what the time is, and I would recommend it because he was saying about because he's lost both his parents in the last couple of years, so he's saying that he's not in a rush to get back to football. So it's like, if it's a personal thing, then fair enough. But if he's waiting for another job, then it's confusing.
Sometimes they're the best way to get over. And I lost both of my parents within the space of a couple of years. And sometimes you just got to throw yourself back into things. But look, we're all different. And if that's it, that's the reason. Well, fair enough, Graham. I understand.
Yeah, exactly. Sky Sports saying it's not a done deal yet. I hope you're not jumping the gun. To be fair, I don't normally listen to Sky Sports. They're like the +1 channel hour behind everyone else. But I look at, I'm taking John Percy and Fabrizio Romano's word for it because they're normally 99% bang on. I wonder if Martin Keown is going to be Ruud's number 2. I think Potter's waiting for West Ham. He could potentially be, or Everton. He could be waiting for another club, or Wolves, isn't? But
I think
again,
Moyes is going to Everton, I think, isn't he? That looks like. And can I just say, I did say thank you very much to Burnley for doing us all a favour and hiring Scott Parker. I do feel I've got to say a big thank you to Coventry for taking on Lampard.
Yeah, they've done us a real service, haven't they? Like,
They have.
I'll be honest,
Thank
if it was
you,
Lampard, I would say relegate us now because he is absolutely shocking.
Yeah, you watch, you'll get Coventry promoted now. But yeah, I agree with you 100% on that one.
Guys, we are going to have to wrap it up here because I am going to have to head off in just a second. So before we do, actually, I'm going to have a quick look at the poll. So 96% of you said you are happy with Ruud. 4% of you said no. It's pretty telling, Chris.
Well, yeah, and I'm just looking at my poll, and I've got to say it's still there. It hasn't blown over at all, so I'm quite pleased about that. But yes, I mean,
the jokes don't get any better. However many of these shows we do,
you'd be disappointed if they did. No, I know that doesn't surprise me. How can you not be excited by this appointment?
Yeah, exactly. Guys, we are going to wrap it up here. So please do make sure to leave a like on the video. Go and subscribe to Leicester Till I Die. Link is in the title. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel as well, make sure to do so. But I'll see you guys in the next one.